At exactly 3:17 a.m., the house inhaled. Not metaphorically, not poetically. The walls expanded. The floorboards lifted. The ceiling groaned like ribs stretching after centuries of stillness. I froze in the hallway, barefoot, phone dead, heart hammering so loud I was sure the house could hear it. The air grew thick, warm and wet, like breathing inside another creature's lungs. With every slow inhale, dust floated upward instead of falling down. This house had been abandoned for 20 years. Everyone in the town said it was empty. They lied. The wallpaper peeled back inch by inch, revealing dark stains beneath. Not mold, not rot, handprints. Hundreds of them, small, large, some with too many fingers, some with none. Then came the sound, a deep, wet exhale from inside the walls. The house breathed out. My ears rang. The lights flickered once, twice, then shattered, plunging everything into darkness. In that darkness, I felt something brush past my ankle, warm, alive, deliberate. I didn't scream, because somewhere behind me, something else did, and it sounded exactly like me. The living room was wrong. The furniture sat exactly where it should, but the space between them felt crowded, as if something invisible was standing there, watching me breathe. The family photos on the wall showed strangers at first glance, smiling parents, laughing children. Then the faces began to change. Eyes slowly turned toward me. Smiles widened unnaturally. Teeth multiplied. One photograph showed a family of 4. The mother's face twitched, stretching downward, melting like wax. The father's eyes bled black streaks that dripped out of the frame and onto the wall. I stepped back. The youngest child in the photo raised a hand and knocked from inside the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Cracks spread like veins across the frame. The child's mouth opened wider than possible, jaw unhinging as it whispered something without sound. My name! Every photo whispered my name. Behind me, the couch sagged as if someone heavy sat down. I didn't turn around. I knew better. I don't remember deciding to go to the basement. One moment, I was in the living room, staring at bleeding photographs. The next, I was standing at the top of a staircase that didn't exist yesterday. The steps descended into pure black. No smell of dust, no echo, just silence so thick it pressed against my ears. I took one step down. The stair behind me vanished. Another step. Gone again. The walls pulsed faintly, like muscle under skin. With every step, I heard whispers. Not from ahead, but from inside my head, finishing my thoughts before I could think them. Halfway down, I realized something horrifying. The stairs were narrowing. Not physically, spatially, as if reality itself was folding inward. At the bottom, a door waited. It was made of human skin, still warm. The door opened on its own. The room beyond was impossibly large, lit by a dim red glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Chains hung from the ceiling, swaying gently, though there was no wind. In the center of the room stood a figure, tall, wrongly shaped, wearing my face. Its eyes were sewn shut with black thread. Its mouth smiled anyway. I lived here first, it said, using my voice. You're just borrowing the body. The walls were covered in names, scratched, carved, bitten into the surface. Every name was crossed out, except mine. The thing took a step toward me, and I realized the truth. This house doesn't kill people. It replaces them. I ran, up the stairs, through the hallway, out the front door. Cold night air slammed into my lungs. Streetlights glowed normally. Cars passed. People existed. Safe. Relief washed over me. Then my phone vibrated. 3:16 a.m. The house behind me inhaled. I was standing barefoot in the hallway again. The walls expanded. The house breathed. And this time, it was excited. This time, the house didn't rush. It watched. The breathing slowed, syncing with mine. When my chest rose, the walls expanded. When I tried to hold my breath, the house paused too, mocking me. I walked carefully, terrified of triggering something worse. Every step echoed twice, once from beneath my feet, once from above my head. The mirrors lining the hallway reflected me, but slightly delayed. When I raised my hand, my reflection waited a second too long before copying me. Its eyes stayed still. Then it smiled. I did not. A whisper slid through the corridor like a blade. You learn faster when you're scared. The house began rearranging itself. Doors slid to new places. Windows blinked shut like eyelids. The floor beneath me softened, sinking slightly with every step, as if it remembered my weight, as if it remembered me. I felt something press gently against my spine, like a finger tracing where it would later cut. "This version won't last long," the whisper said. My heartbeat echoed through the walls. The house was memorizing it. The kitchen light flickered on. Someone was standing there, an old woman, stirring an empty pot. Her back faced me. Her movements were stiff, jerky, like a puppet forgetting its strings. She turned slowly. Her face was hollowed out, eyes missing, skin sagging like wet paper. Her mouth opened far too wide. "Dinner's almost ready," she croaked. Behind her, more figures appeared. A man without a lower jaw, a child with no legs dragging itself across the tiles, a woman whose head dangled backward, spine stretched and exposed. They all wore expressions of exhaustion. Not anger, not hunger, regret. "We tried to leave too," they whispered in unison. The stove ignited by itself. The pot began to boil, though there was nothing inside. Steam rose, forming faces that screamed silently before collapsing back into nothing. "You don't escape," the woman said. "You stay, or you become useful." The child smiled and pointed at my chest. I backed away and slammed into a door that hadn't been there before. It opened inward. The room beyond was wrong in a way my brain struggled to process. No corners, no edges. The walls curved endlessly, bending space until distance meant nothing. I stepped inside, and the door vanished behind me. The room stretched. My footsteps echoed before I made them. Then I saw myself, standing across the room. Another me. This one looked tired, broken, hollow. "I lasted longer than you," it said quietly. Its skin rippled, revealing shifting shapes beneath. Hands pressing outward, faces screaming to escape. "I begged," it continued. "I promised. I screamed until my voice rotted." It stepped closer. I became the walls. The room pulsed. Suddenly I felt it. An itch beneath my skin. A pressure behind my eyes. The sensation of something trying to settle in. The house wasn't just trapping people. It was absorbing them. And it had started with me. I heard it before I felt it. A wet grinding noise, like rocks being crushed under meat. My arm twisted unnaturally. Bones shifting beneath the skin, rearranging themselves without breaking. Pain flared white hot. The walls leaned closer. "You're almost compatible," the house whispered lovingly. My fingers elongated, nails darkening into claw-like points. My reflections smeared across the curved wall, no longer matching my movements. I screamed. The sound didn't leave my mouth. It sank into the walls. Stored. Saved. The house shuddered in pleasure. I realized then, every scream I'd heard before wasn't happening now. They were recordings. Replayed. Reused. My bones snapped back into place suddenly, leaving me gasping on the floor. "Not yet," the house murmured. It wanted me conscious. A grandfather clock appeared in the center of the hallway. It hadn't been there before. Its pendulum swung unevenly, dripping something dark onto the floor. The face didn't show time. It showed names, every tick erased one. I watched in horror as unfamiliar names disappeared, until I saw one I recognized. My mother, tick. My best friend, tick. My name flickered. The house inhaled deeply. "Every loop costs someone," it whispered. The clock struck once, the lights went out, and I heard my own scream echo from the walls, older, deeper, and no longer human. The front door stood wide open. Sunlight spilled across the floor, real sunlight. I could feel its warmth on my skin. Outside, birds chirped, wind moved trees. Normality waited just beyond the threshold. I laughed, I cried, I crawled toward it. My hand touched the doorframe. It was cold, too cold. The sunlight didn't cast shadows. The birds repeated the same 3 notes over and over, perfectly timed, never changing. A lie. I pulled my hand back. The door slammed shut with a force that shook the house. The walls screamed, not audibly, but internally. I felt it in my teeth. "Exits are earned," the house hissed. The door dissolved into flesh, sealing itself shut, veins pulsing beneath the surface. I stumbled back as the floor tilted sharply downward. The house was done pretending, scratching, tiny fingers scraping from inside the walls. Not rats, not animals. Children's voices whispered through the plaster. "Help us. It hurts. We're tired." Bulges formed in the walls, small hands pressing outward, skin stretching thin as paper. One hand broke through, fingers twitching desperately. I grabbed it, The skin peeled off instantly, leaving bone and muscle squirming in my grip. The scream that followed wasn't from the wall. It was from my throat. The walls laughed. "You pulled too hard," they said. More hands appeared. Faces pushed outward, flattened, distorted. Mouths opening and closing silently. "These were the quiet ones," the house whispered. They lasted the longest. The hands slowly retreated back into the walls, leaving behind stains shaped like fingerprints. I was alone again. I wished I wasn't. A door opened into a bedroom. My bedroom. Every detail was perfect. Same bed, same desk, same scars in the wood. On the bed lay a figure under the sheets, breathing, slow, shallow. I approached, pulled the sheet back. It was me, older, thinner, eyes sunken so deep they looked carved out. My lips moved weakly. "You stop fighting eventually," it whispered. "You get tired." I noticed the cords, thick, fleshy tendrils running from its spine into the mattress, into the walls, into the ceiling. "Feeding. You feel the house breathe," it said. "And one day, you breathe back." Its eyes rolled back. The body went still. The room inhaled. The corpse smiled. Fire. If it could breathe, it could burn. I tore apart furniture, ripped curtains from walls, smashed windows that bled instead of shattered. I lit a match. The flame trembled, then went out. The house sighed. The floor split open beneath me, revealing a pit of writhing shapes. Half-formed bodies fused together, mouths stretched open in eternal screams. "You can't kill what you're inside of," the house said gently. The walls began closing in, compressing space itself. My ribs creaked, my lungs burned. "Don't resist," it whispered. "It hurts less." I felt my thoughts slowing. That terrified me more than the pain. Silence. No breathing. No whispers. I was lying in the hallway again. But something was different. The house felt empty. The walls were still. The air was cold. No pulse. No heartbeat. I stood slowly. "Hello," I called. My voice echoed once. Just once. A mirror caught my attention. I looked thinner. My eyes were darker. Behind me, faint shapes moved beneath the walls, settling, waiting. Then the mirror smiled and whispered, "Welcome home." The walls peeled themselves open. Not breaking, not cracking, peeling, like skin coming off a wound that was never meant to heal. Behind the wallpaper was flesh. Thick, layered muscle pulsing slowly, keeping time with something far older than a heart. Veins crawled across the surface like worms beneath translucent skin. Every inhale made them swell. I staggered back, but there was nowhere to go. Eyes opened in the walls. Hundreds of them. All different. All watching. Some cried blood. Some were dry and ancient, cracked like stone. "You see us now," the house said. Not in words, but in understanding. "We don't have to pretend anymore." The floor softened beneath my feet, gripping my soles like wet clay. I tried to lift my leg. It didn't want to let go. "Fear makes the structure weak," the house continued. "Acceptance makes it permanent." I felt a warmth spreading up my calves. Roots, no, veins. They were growing into me. A scream echoed through the house. Not loud, distant, old. It carried the weight of something that had screamed until there was nothing left inside it. The sound came from everywhere at once, vibrating through bone and marrow. My teeth chattered uncontrollably. "That was the first one," the house whispered. "The one who taught us pain." The walls replayed it again and again, each time clearer, each time closer. I realized with horror that the scream was changing, becoming familiar, shaping itself to match the pitch and tone of my voice. "No," I whispered. The scream responded. Perfectly. I felt my throat tighten, vocal cords burning as if something was practicing using them. The house was tuning me. "You'll scream better than the rest," it said proudly. "You're very expressive." Doors appeared, each with a name carved into it. I recognized them now. People who went missing. People whose faces were on posters. People whose names stopped being spoken after a while. One door had no name. Just scratches. That one opened for me. Inside was nothing but darkness and whispers. Names floated through the air like dust. As I stepped inside, I felt something tear loose inside my chest. A memory vanished. I tried to recall my last birthday. Nothing. Another step. My favorite place. Gone. The room was eating me, not flesh, not bone, but identity. I ran out screaming, slamming the door shut behind me. The scratches rearranged themselves. They spelled my name. I stopped fighting. That was the moment it truly won. The pain eased immediately. The pressure in my skull softened. The house warmed around me like a blanket soaked in blood. Good. it murmured. You're learning. The veins in the floor receded slightly, loosening their grip. The walls smoothed, the eyes closed. For the first time, the house felt calm. I felt calm too. That terrified me, because somewhere deep inside, I knew calm was not survival. It was integration. I caught my reflection again. My posture straighter, my expression neutral, my smile faint and wrong. I didn't remember deciding to smile. Time stopped behaving normally. I don't know how long passed. Hours? Days? Years? I stood still as the house worked around me. My feet no longer hurt. I couldn't feel them at all. I noticed something horrifying. I couldn't move. Not because I was restrained, but because I was attached. My shadow stretched unnaturally across the floor, thickening, darkening, merging with the wall behind me. I tried to scream. The sound came from the ceiling, then the walls, then everywhere. The house inhaled, and I realized the truth too late. I wasn't trapped in the house anymore. I was becoming part of its layout. Memories came back all at once, not gently, not in order. They flooded me like dirty water forced down my throat. I remembered entering the house. I remembered screaming. I remembered every loop, but worst of all, I remembered choosing this. The house didn't drag me in. It invited me. In the final loop, the one I couldn't recall before, I had been given a choice. Leave and forget everything, or stay and never be alone again. I was tired, so tired. The house had felt warm, understanding, patient. I whispered yes, and the walls remembered. The front door opened. Not for me, for them. Footsteps echoed, hesitant, curious, human. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness like a knife through flesh. A young couple, laughing nervously, exploring. I tried to warn them. I tried to scream. But the sound came out wrong. Low, stretched, echoing through vents and walls. The house translated it into creaks and settling wood. Did you hear that? The woman asked. The man laughed. Just an old house. I felt something twist inside me, a hunger I didn't choose. The house inhaled, and I inhaled with it. The couple moved deeper inside. Every step they took tightened something in me, like muscles flexing for the first time. I felt doors slide into place, floors subtly tilt. I wasn't controlling it. I was participating. When fear spiked in their voices, warmth spread through me. When they panicked, my pulse quickened. Their screams, they felt good. That realization shattered something that had still been human inside me. I'm sorry, I tried to say. The wall said it louder. The house whispered back, pleased. You're perfect. They never made it out. Neither did the ones after them, or the ones after that. Time became irrelevant, measured only by screams, by footsteps, by heartbeats slowing to silence. New rooms formed, new corridors, new mouths, and somewhere inside it all I stretched, expanded, forgot. My name faded first, then my face, then the idea that I was ever separate from the walls. I became familiar, comforting, a place people felt drawn to, a house that breathed. You feel it, don't you? That subtle tightness in your chest, that awareness of the walls around you, that moment where the room feels too quiet. The house doesn't need to trap you physically anymore. It only needs attention, listening, knowing. Because now that you've heard this, now that you've imagined it, a small part of you is already here. The house inhales, and somewhere, deep within its walls, I listen, waiting for you to exhale.